Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to another edition of the Degen Docs. I am the OG Degen Doc. That's right, SGPN Football Doc here, joined with my co-host back from the land down under, aka Disney World, Mr. Derek Bennett, the Professor of Locks. How we doing, brother? Welcome. Well, good to have you back, man.
Hey, I appreciate Andrew stepping in for me last week. It took a week to go down to Florida, go to the House of the Mouse, and I became a drenched rat while I was down there. Got stuck in the middle of the tropical storm. It was a great time. Spent a shit ton of money, but had a good time nonetheless. So
There you go. Hey,
glad to
man.
be back.
As a someone who has spent a long time in Florida, you are gonna get drenched when you go down there. But I'm glad you had a good time, brother. Cheers to you and happy birthday to Derek there. Yeah, thank you. If you guys missed it last week, we had Andrew Robb step in, our resident best ball expert. We did a nice little fun draft there. So stay tuned. Maybe coming back to that. All right, guys, already in the chat there. Jamie, our guy. Good evening. Good evening, brother. So congratulations to everyone who's made it to the second round of the fantasy football playoffs. Cheers to you. If not, it's okay. That's what DFS, Underdog, and sports gambling was made for. Because if there's football, there's injuries, and there's actionable information we're going to be giving you guys. Derek, how are the fantasy teams looking so far over there, brother?
Yeah, well, mine are basically done. I was the first team out in both of my main leagues, based on a couple of bad breaks in both leagues. I am no longer in contention.
What was your bad breaks?
Well, the one league is an 18 team league. Had
18 teams?
Yeah, Nick Chubb, first round, bang, done. Waiver wire is pretty thin when it comes.
I didn't even know you know 18 people.
I
didn't know there was 18 people in Ohio, let alone.
This will probably the last 18 team league. But
fuck.
then the second one, I think of the first 5 weeks, I think I was like third in total points scored and was 1-4. So, anyways,
hey man, it happens.
It does.
Out for the sad souls like yourself there. Thankfully,
you're doing okay though, right?
Yeah, I've taken the approach of, I think 2 leagues, maybe 3 is kind of my sweet spot. So 2 leagues this year, came in as a 6th seed in both. Was able to take down one of the top dogs in one of the leagues. The other one absolutely got demolished. I wind up playing the Las Vegas Raiders defense, which was awesome, but I also played against them. So a little bit of the highs and lows of fantasy football there with the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah. Looks like you got Jamie in there. Look, join the league. Yeah, why not? Make it a fucking 30-person league.
That's right.
All right, enough of the bullshitting around. We are going to get to what you guys have come for, and that is the fantasy football injury news, breaking down the biggest, the latest, the greatest, as always here. But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and tell you about one of our sponsors here, and that is Hall of Fame Bets. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, obviously, we talk fantasy football, we talk injuries, but we also talk gambling and some betting here that we're going to get to a little bit later. So the #1 site for your sports betting research platform for parlays, prayer props, and game lines, Hall of Fame Bets. Go ahead and use that promo code SGPN to get a 50% off your first month over there at hallofamebets.com. That's what we do here at SGPN. We like to either give away free money or make sure you get a sweet discount. Go ahead, try it for half off first, and we know you're going to love it there. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what we have been waiting for, we are going to go ahead and pull up the injury report here, and we're going to be breaking down the biggest, the greatest, the latest fantasy football injury news here. So we got a lot this week, so let's go ahead and get started there. We're going to kick it off first with the inactives real quick. Only really confirmed one guy, and that is rookie running back for the Ravens, Keaton Mitchell. Brutal injury. Just, I mean, for those that were watching the game and have seen I'm sure the picture's been floating around. You can find it on X at SGPN Football if you really want to know. But really tough injury, torn ACL. I would not be surprised if there's some other ligaments torn there. But Keaton Mitchell can go ahead and unfortunately drop him, unless you want to keep him on your IR. And I've seen people keeping players on the IR to give them a chance to have the ring, much like a guy in real life if he gets out and he's for a Super Bowl team. So you can do that. But unfortunately, Keaton Mitchell out for the year. First guy up that we got a little bit of question here. Mr. Goldilocks himself down there in sometimes rainy Florida. Mr. Trevor Lawrence, Jacksonville Jaguars, Goldilocks. He coming off that high ankle sprain, which I'm questioning if he really had a high ankle sprain for how early he came back. But anyway, picked up a concussion this week. What are we hearing, Derek? What is the news over there in Florida? We thinking he's going to play? Where are we at right now?
Yeah, so Trevor Lawrence, I don't believe has practiced this week, but he is kind of a grinder when it comes to most injuries. And as we know, kind of towards the later part of the season, guys with concussions in that concussion protocol have been coming back a little bit earlier than earlier in the season. So continue to monitor. We're on kind of earlier in the week. We're going live a day early, so Wednesday reports may not tell us as much as those Thursday, Fridays, but keep monitoring Trevor Lawrence. But I would expect him to play if he comes out of protocol.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, and that's a good point here. Yeah, we are live, of course, Wednesday night instead of our usual Thursday. It's the holidays, folks. You know what it is. Travel plans, yada, yada, yada. You don't care about that boring stuff. But yeah, great point. We got a couple guys with the concussions going on this week. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to just do a lay of the land of a concussion. Quick breakdown on what it is, what it affects here. So concussion, right? It's just a indirect or direct blow to the head that causes some disruption in brain function. It is a brain injury. Now, there's a lot of mystery as far as exactly what goes on in the concussion. That's why we have variable symptoms. You may see some people have something, some not have them. And there's also a variable response to symptoms. So really concussions from both a research standpoint and what you see in real life, it's a mystery, right? So you don't know exactly what you're going to get through. Like Derek mentioned, and the NFL has a 5-step concussion protocol. It seems like at the beginning of the season, they were being super conservative. Call it the Tua effect, call it whatever you want. But the NFL, if you had a concussion, you were guaranteed to miss a week, which is not how it was in the past. About 70% of players cleared it in time to play that week. But as we've seen, I think it started really with Mr. Brock Purdy, Mr. Not So Irrelevant at this point. We've really started to see these guys come back and start coming back sooner. Now, again, variable, a mystery. So we don't know. Like Derek mentioned, Lawrence did not practice this week, but there are reports that he's looking good, that there's optimism for her to play. So really with concussions, the injury reports are the biggest things there. If we want a guy to be limited at least by Thursday to fully practice Friday, if you get a limited Thursday, a full Friday, then you are in the clear, and that guy is very likely to play. With concussions, there's a small re-injury risk as far as there is an elevated re-injury risk, but you should not expect a dip in production. So if you have a guy coming in off a concussion and you're concerned, is this going to affect his play? Most of the time, the research has shown it does not. So you can kind of start him with some confidence. Just know you might have a little bit higher of a re-injury risk there. All right, next up, Michael Pittman, wide receiver for the Colts, also has a concussion, but he did have a limited practice today. So where does that tell us as far as things are standing there, Derek?
Yeah, man. Just like you just said, kind of with that 5-step protocol that the league has, kind of the earlier on that they get that limited label, probably the better. Because usually if we get that limited label, they may be limited for a day or two. Hopefully they can get to a full practice by the end of the week. But that was a brutal hit that he took from Casey.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know you're the resident Lurs fan on the pod here.
That was brutal. And as far as Casey goes, with the year or rest of the year suspension.
Yeah, what do you think about that? I think that's crazy, man.
I mean, I would agree, but I think this is his 4th or 5th, basically same type of.
I didn't realize that.
This year.
Damn,
yeah, he's a repeat offender.
Right. Yeah.
He's a repeat offender. I think each month of the season he's lost money due to hits just like that one.
Yo, that's actually insane. That is why we have our resident expert here.
That is why he has been sidelined for the rest of the season.
You've now convinced me that maybe that wasn't as bullshit as I thought.
Yeah. But with Michael Pittman, as long as he clears protocol, like you said, I don't think that we'll see much of a dip in his production coming back this coming week. As long as he clears production or clears
protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like the limited practice today is absolutely a step in the right direction. So for
Right.
your Pittman owners out there, Pittman managers, that's definitely a positive step. All right,
No doubt.
next up, last concussion we're going to talk about here, Mr. CJ Stroud, likely rookie of the year there, really, really doing damage and doing well for my Texans to win the AFC South ticket. Now, unfortunately, there's a little bit less optimism with this one. Reports are saying that he's now expected to miss week 16, which, in a situation where he already missed last week, typically if they miss one game, they're very, very likely to go ahead and return that following week. When you get to the point where you miss 2 games, that's where it starts to get a little bit concerning. For those that didn't see, who was it this year? It was Hayden Hurst, who got a concussion, and then he got diagnosed with retrograde amnesia. Some type of amnesia where, memory loss as far as he's having trouble remembering things. So obviously, guys, we're talking about the brain, right? There's still a lot that we don't know. And obviously your brain lets you do everything. So this is kind of a little bit of a serious deal here. I don't know. They haven't ruled him out yet, but they're expecting him to be out. It's kind of a little bit of an interesting situation. So what do you make of this there, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, like we've said, over the last couple guys, concussions are a strange thing. There's no one way that people will evaluate a concussion. There's no one way that they'll diagnose a concussion, allow people to come back. It's really kind of, let's check the guy out throughout the week and see if symptoms are improving. They do have that 5-step protocol. Whether that's the best way to do things or not, who's to say?
Careful what we say here. We don't want Goodell coming for our heads,
Hey, man, if he is, bring him on. But anyway, CJ Stroud, like you said, I think everything's pointing for him to miss this week as well. Which, as an Ohio guy, hate to see that.
Yeah. I mean, tough. I mean, Case Keenum actually looked pretty well. Got the
Okay.
W against Tennessee there. So I think this
And
affects
it
guys
sounds like Nico Collins is been limited this week and maybe coming back to help out even more. So
yeah, Collins would be a boost. I know I've got some questions about Noah Brown. Obviously him and Noah Brown went off with Case Keenum last week. Brown's defense is a little bit, tougher, but they do have some guys banged up in the back end there. So we'll kind of monitor that as we go. But yeah, unfortunately, as far as an optimism point of view, I think Pittman, you got the most optimism for. Then it goes Lawrence. And then unfortunately, CJ Stroud, he looks like the guy that may be left out this week. All right, we're going to move on, continue talking about all the latest and greatest, biggest fantasy football injuries and news. As we do that, guys, if you have questions, whether it's start, sit, or questions about injuries as far as different guys, just drop them in the chat there, and we will absolutely do our best to get to them. All right, next up, guy that's going to have the most relevance quickly here, Chris Olave, wide receiver for the New Orleans Saints there, playing tomorrow night on Thursday. He will be taking on the Los Angeles Rams. He picked up an ankle injury 2 weeks ago. He missed last week against the Giants. He did not practice all week last week, so that told me he probably wasn't super close. He only picked up some limited practices, but they said he's going to play. Now, they have not said what type of ankle injury this is. Typically, they say if it's a high ankle sprain and a low ankle, a low ankle is a lateral ankle sprain. In mild cases, most guys come back 1 to 2 weeks. This seems a little bit more serious with the fact he did not practice at all last week. So whether it's a medial ankle sprain, which is kind of your deltoid ligaments, requires a little bit more force, or a grade 2, which is just a little bit more severe lateral ankle sprain, I think it's a little bit more involved than a mild ankle sprain. And again, this is a lot based off of him having 0 practice last week, and he's going on a short week. So knowing kind of what we know, what are you thinking, Derek, as far as do we trust Olave? Are you sending him out there with full confidence? What do you think there?
I would probably be a little bit more hesitant with Olave. I think is in terms of fantasy, you kind of have to check out the rest of your roster, check out the waiver wire. But I would be hesitant with Olave. Like you said, he didn't practice at all last week. He's only been limited this week. And still, I mean, with Derek Carr as your quarterback, you never know what you're going to actually get there. So
you're gonna get a lot of eyeliner and the kid from Toy Story.
Exactly. So Chris Olave, if he is your best option, he's your best option. It sounds like he's going to play, but with that ankle issue, he's going to be limited as far as push off, cutting, any kind of agility kind of things. And there is a fairly, there's a higher risk of re-injury, I would say,
Yeah,
or at
absolutely.
least tweaking that ankle,
Oh yeah,
coming
absolutely.
back
I
from an
mean,
early week. So
yeah, ankle injuries are, I mean, we've all twisted our ankle playing basketball or whatever we've been doing. And I mean, yeah, if you don't, you can protect them a little bit, but if that twists the wrong way, it's not going to feel good. It's going to act up pretty quick. Yeah. Between Derek Carr, the injury, the situation there, like Derek mentioned, like if you're in a situation where it's either like Chris Olave or like, I don't know, like some random like Craycraft or something crazy like that. Yeah. Obviously you go Olave, but if you got a guy
in an
like
18 team league and Olave's
well,
your
I'm
best
gonna
bet.
assume most of the listeners have a normal 10 to 12 league, but
12.
maybe who knows? Maybe where there's some crazy Ohioans out there with
Right.
the 18 leagues. But yeah, I think there's a situation where I would not feel confident starting Chris Olave in this situation. All right, so pivot away if you're able to. We're gonna roll on here. We're gonna talk about a guy who should be returning this week in Mr. Isaiah Pacheco, Mr. Crazy Legs himself. I'm going to expend as much energy as humanly possible to pick up any amount of yardage. I'm just playing. He's a Rutgers guy. I love Pacheco there. So Isaiah Pacheco, he's missed the past 2 weeks with a shoulder injury. They first called it a shoulder contusion, which a contusion, for those that don't know, is just a bruise. So when they said that and he wasn't practicing, that was kind of a little bit of like, all right, the bullshit detector is going off there.
Yep.
But it seems like he did have a shoulder surgery. And it was just a scope, which is kind of nice. With scope, basically they go in and they kind of clean some things up. They don't actually repair anything. So there's not a lot of healing time that needs to take place. So it looks like he's expected to play. He had that last week. Yes, the return timeline is a little bit aggressive. You don't always see people coming out of surgery and playing, but it's the NFL. It's not super uncommon. So they're expecting him to play. They play on Monday night, so no practice report yet, but a situation where there is some optimism there. So, assuming that he does play, where do are you starting Pacheco? What are you thinking against that Raiders defense?
I'm probably starting Pacheco this week if he's in my lineup. Andy Reid has already came out and said that he expects him to be full go Monday. Like you said, with the scope version of a surgery, it's actually fairly minor, and recovery times are really, really quick. Basically, you're just looking at making sure the little portal, the little tiny holes that they insert heal up. So from a structural standpoint, his shoulder is structurally perfectly fine. They didn't go in and repair anything. Especially with a running back, it's not like you're going overhead. It's not like he's trying to throw. It's nothing too crazy with his shoulder. So I expect him to be full go.
Yeah, I'm aligned there. I think, I think you got to trust Pacheco, especially, you look around the league and all these running back injuries and situations.
Exactly.
You're not likely going to find a better running back in general. And I know the Raiders are playing pretty decent defense. I don't expect them to score a couple defensive touchdowns this week, but I mean, they're playing all right. But Pacheco is such a big part of that offense. I mean, you look to the
when he's in there, he's their guy. So
absolutely. I think the leading rusher the past 2 weeks has been Edwards-Helaire with like 30. I mean, the Chiefs are a better team with Pacheco in. They're gonna lean on him.
100%.
Excuse me. And so I would agree there. Go ahead and ride Pacheco in with some feel good about it too. All right, let's go ahead and keep rolling on here. I think we got a couple more. Yep. Definitely at least two more. We got, again, a lot of injuries, a lot of big injuries too that we're going to be talking about.
Big names.
All right. So Jamar Chase, Cincinnati Bengals wide receiver, picked up a shoulder injury, AC sprain. He's trending in the wrong direction this week. So really quick, they called it a shoulder separation. Sure, it's just an AC sprain. Basically with AC, it's the joint that connects your clavicle and your shoulder. So kind of, right in here. When it's separation, just means that either the ligaments are completely torn or they're sprained, which just means damage. So situation where, he's dealing with a little bit of a shoulder injury. Now, In grade 1 and very minor, these situations, most guys just play, they get a pain injection and they're able to play through it. It looks like Chase's, based on the reports, is a little bit more serious, a little bit more into that grade 2 range. So he has not practiced yet. And although Zach Taylor, head coach there, has called him day to day, it looks like he's going to be trending in the wrong direction. How do you see it, Derek? Do you think he's going to play this week? And if he somehow does, where's your risk concern there?
Yeah, I expect Ja'Marr Chase to be out this week. Basically, with that AC sprain, he's going to have more pain doing basically anything overhead. So from a wide receiver standpoint, any balls that are elevated are going to be more painful for him. Anything outstretched with an outstretched arm could be a little bit more painful for him. And like you said, basically Taylor and things that I've been seeing have been pointing in the wrong direction for Ja'Marr Chase. So I expect him to be out this week.
Yeah, very unfortunate, obviously. You're expecting Ja'Marr Chase to be a big contributor at second round of the playoffs. So definitely pour one out for the homies that have Chase in their lineup. But it looks like, unfortunately, you want to pivot away, which, obviously put out some waiver wire targets with the article, put them out on X and on YouTube. So make sure you're following there. But, that's where you want to look at guys like Noah Brown. I like Wan'Dale Robinson this week. You could look Josh Palmer. If it's a flex situation, you got Zamir White, Ty Chandler, you got some options there. But yeah, difficult situation with Ja'Marr Chase. All right, last one we're going to talk about here. And then again, make sure if you got any injury questions or start sits, go ahead and drop them in the chat and we will get to them before we hit our underdog play of the week. All right, last guy we're going to officially talk about here, Mr. Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts, the surprise Indianapolis Colts, who also have a shot at the AFC South still. So he picked up a thumb injury several weeks ago. He had thumb surgery. They said at first it was going to be like a 2-week injury. Again, bullshit. We're going on week 4 here. So, now he's, today he has a full practice, though. He had not practiced at all to this point. He had a full practice, which comes at a great time because Zach Moss knocked out of last game and he did not practice today. So what are we thinking on Jonathan Taylor? Obviously full practice is a good sign. Is this an injury that we're worried about re-injury risk, or is this something that you should be scared off of Jonathan Taylor?
I wouldn't necessarily be afraid of a re-injury risk with the thumb surgery. Basically, they're going in and repairing anything that was damaged to begin with. So from a healing standpoint, he should be there. And especially, like you said, with Zach Moss going out last week early from the game, I think Jonathan Taylor's time is back to be the full workhorse that he is. But with that being said, keep monitoring, making sure that he continues to practice the rest of the week. You may look at a Trey Sermon. You may look at somebody else that is on the waiver wire if things start to turn a corner. But I expect Jonathan Taylor to be full go.
Yeah, right on there. Yep, with the full practice today, gives the most confidence, right? So we're gonna assume that he's gonna go ahead and play off that. Obviously, check if there's something where something doesn't feel right after practice today. Always a possibility when a guy returns from injury, but the full practice is a great sign. And yeah, I'm right there. Not huge re-injury risk, not really a concern. If he's on the field, I think you got to start Jonathan Taylor. All right, we do have a question before we head over to the play of the day. Mr. Jamie there, do you think Tyler Boyd can be a good desperation play? I will let you kick this one off, Derek. What do you think about Tyler Boyd this week?
Yeah, when we were first talking about waiver wires, I just jumped straight onto the one league that's not the 18-team league, so it's a normal waiver wire. And Tyler Boyd was right at the top there as one of the higher projected point totals. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think Tyler Boyd is definitely going to see more action with Ja'Marr Chase being out. I think he's.
Yeah, I'll agree with you there. Now, I think you saw obviously with Chase out last week, Higgins had a huge day, right? Trying to get that wide receiver 1 money. So let's go ahead and assume that Chase is going to be out with the way it's looking. I think Tyler Boyd, he was banged up himself. So that may account for some of the reasons that he wasn't really producing at the level that we can sometimes see him. I think, you kind of hit the nail on the head, Jamie, with calling it a desperation play. Obviously, it's not a situation you want to find yourself in, but I think you could do worse, right? I think Boyd can work his way up to, that kind of Noah Brown, Wan'Dale Robinson area where, yeah, they've got some potential. And, it's really a situation where they're going up against the Steelers team, which, Derek, you might want to close your ears here, but that secondary has been very suspect. No Minkah Fitzpatrick, looking like no Trenton Thompson. That back end is going to be tested. And yeah, Jake Browning's kind of lighting it up. So I don't hate the Tyler Boyd angle there, especially with Chase being out. All right, folks. Now we have told you about all the greatest fantasy football injury news. Obviously, if you got some last minute things, go ahead and pop them in the chat there. But we are going to turn over and go from the fantasy football side to making you some money for the holidays. All right, folks. So we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy there. And not only are we sponsored by them, but we can go ahead and get you some free money. How does a free $100 sound for the holidays? I know that sounds good to me. Let's be honest. All right. Nobody wants a fucking another tie or a little stocking stuffer or a candy cane. You know what you want to get your cousins or your uncle for Christmas? How about some free money? How about a free $100? How about you say, look, Unc, why don't we look at Underdog Fantasy, use that promo code SGPN, get you a free $100. And on top of that, I'm going to give you a 3-leg banger to go ahead and kick off the holiday seasons. So make sure that you actually bring some joy with your presents and use Underdog Fantasy, promo code SGPN for a free $100. All right. So moving on.
Hey, speaking of Underdog, finally was able to play some pick'ems while I was in Florida. It was a great time. Great time.
I'm telling you, man, Florida.
Ohio, sadly, we can't do pick'ems for whatever fucking reason. But
hey, man, no laws in Florida. It just sounds about on brand as it can be.
No doubt. I was the Florida guy that you hear all the stories.
Yeah, I know. Derek went down to Florida and he finally got a taste of some of those underdogs, and he just went wild. Hey, man, it's better than bath salts, so you're doing all right. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we've got a nice juicy four pick guy here, four player pick 'em. Nice 10x once we hit all these. So I'm gonna let Derek lead off. What's your first play here?
Yeah, Alvin Kamara over 12.5 attempts. We talked earlier about Olave possibly being a little bit banged up still as far as the ankle injury goes. So I think Kamara will definitely see his when it comes to attempts. So over 12.5 carries for Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, no, I like that. I think this is going to be a little bit of a tight game, and spread. I think it's like we're hanging around 4-3. A situation where the Saints, I don't think the recipe to success would be them letting Derek Carr drop back and throw it a bunch. So I do like Kamara getting involved early and often there. All right, so next up, along with that rushing game, I'm going to go ahead and take Mr. Taysom Hill, higher than 16.5 rushing yards. He has been banged up recently. He's getting healthier. He was dealing with a foot and a hand injury. He missed a game there. When he's healthy, he's involved. He is that kind of classic Swiss Army knife there. I know Jamal Williams is kind of mixed in a little bit. Kendre Miller is still questionable. I think Taysom Hill brings a different aspect to that. And let's be honest, if I had Derek Carr as my starting quarterback, I'd be doing everything I can to get him out of the game. I think when healthy, Hill pops over this number really easily. I think we're getting a discount because he was dealing with some injuries, but he's looking like he's a lot healthier. He's not on the injury report. So go ahead and give me Taysom Hill higher than 16.5 rushing yards. All right, next up, why don't you tell us your next pick there, Derek?
My last one was Rashid Shaheed over 2.5 catches. Basically, he's been kind of banged up. He was back last week and had a couple catches. But basically, kind of going back to the Olave play, if Olave is banged up, if he's been limited in practice this week, it's an earlier game. I like Rashid Shaheed to see a few more targets than he normally would and to get over 2.5 catches.
No, yeah, I like that. Obviously, in a situation we're just targeting this Thursday night football game here, taking advantage of doing this on Wednesday to make sure everyone can get those plays in. A situation where Olave's banged up And even when Olave's been playing, Shaheed can pretty easily hit this number as far as getting over 2.5 catches there.
Right.
Rams secondary is playing pretty well, but they're not anything crazy to be super afraid of there. Pretty balanced on defense. So I think that for him to get pop over this number is pretty doable. All right. We're going to head over to the Los Angeles side for the last play. Tyler Higbee higher than 21.5 receiving yards. When I first read this, I was like, I got to be missing something. What the hell is going on here? They're hanging this number. I even saw it's dropped. I think it was at 22 earlier today and 21 when we picked it up here before the show. I think this is an absolute smash spot. Saints are not very good against the tight end. And when this offense is clicking, as far as running the ball, they love the tight end. They love play action. They love tight end screens. Higbee is getting healthier. Obviously he played last week. I think he's only getting healthier, dealing with his little bit of a neck stinger that he had going on. So yes, I understand Davis Allen, the rookie, got some run when Higbee was out and they're still involved, but 21.5 yards. I mean, this is like 1 or 2 catches for Higbee. I think this is a smash spot there. So I love Tyler Higbee higher than 21.5. All right, folks, quick recap. Alvin Kamara higher than 12.5 rushing attempts. Taysom Hill higher than 16.5 rushing yards. Tyler Higbee higher than 21.5 receiving yards. And Rashid Shaheed higher than 2.5 receptions. Pays you out a very nice and juicy 10-1 to start the holiday season. All right, folks, my whiskey looks like it's about to be done. So that must mean it's time for the show to end. So really quickly, Derek, you got anything for the people for the holidays?
I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, best of luck in your fantasy football endeavors and all of your other betting endeavors, whether it's Underdog or whatever.
Yeah, very nice wish. And I'll be the inclusive one and go and say, happy Kwanzaa, happy Hanukkah to all those that celebrate. Happy motherfucking holidays to everybody out there, all my DGens. All right, folks, we broke down the latest and greatest fantasy football injury news. We gave you a nice juicy 10x to 1 to hit before the holiday season. And all you got to do, obviously, picks are free. They're always going to be. Just go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Go ahead and share the show. Obviously, Derek and I grinding started out mid-season, a new show. So if you appreciate what we're doing, if you like what you're doing, go ahead and share it, like it. That's all you got to do to help pay us back and help our holiday season. Other than that, have a great holiday. Enjoy. And let's go ahead and win some bets, win some money, and take home those fantasy football championships. Catch us back here next Thursday at our normal time. Degen Docs out.
Peace.